Hi, everyone. My name is Nicole. I'm Councilmember Vicki Palladino's Chief of Staff. Thank you so much for being here tonight. What a great turnout. What a great night to support our candidates. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Councilmember Vicki Palladino.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Let's get loud. Let me hear you. Let's get excited. We're going to get our first Republican governor in decades. Get excited. We got a slate of candidates this year that cannot be beat. And Northeast Queens will be heard. Let me hear you. We have a great lineup tonight besides our eminent new governor, Lee Zeldin, and Lieutenant Governor Allison Esposito. We have my colleague in City Council, Bob Holden. We've got Stefano Forte. He's running for this district for State Senate. We got George Santos running for Congress. Allison Esposito, Lee Zeldin, let's hear it. Let's take back New York. We've had it. We've had it. We've had it. Crime through the roof. Our district here in Queens has seen crime like we've never seen it before. It's gone from College Point all the way to Douglaston Manor. We've had enough. It's time to take back our state the way we are taking back our city. And we will take our city back by putting Lee in the governor's seat and Allison in the lieutenant governor's seat. We will start to take back our state senate by electing Stefano Forte. We will continue to take back the Congress by electing George Santos. Everybody get loud, get happy. This is a rally. Let's show the Democrats we are not taking it anymore. We are done. As a red wave, in a few short weeks, we go to the polls and we vote red down the line, and that's it. This is a revolution. Be part of it. It's decades since we've seen this. Without further ado, let me bring up my colleague. With great pride, I sit with Bob Holden. Common sense on the city council. Bob, it's all yours. Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and what Vicki says, I'm part of the Common Sense Caucus in the City Council. There are 7 of us, 7 out of 51 with common sense in the City Council. But let me just do a disclaimer. I'm a Democrat. Yeah, that's all right. All right, we got some Democrats. But Democrat for 50 years, by the way. But I'm crossing party lines. Why? Well, take a look at New York City. Take a look at New York State, what's happening. We had Hochul for how long? A year? And has things gotten better? No way. They've gotten a lot worse. We need a great American. We need Lee Zeldin, the great American, to lead this state. We're sick and tired. And by the way, look at all the crime on the subways. My wife won't take the subways, period. She will not get on the subways. She's afraid. And have you heard Kathy Hochul? Up until today, she said she's going to put 1,200 more cops in the subways. A little too late. A little too late. And by the way, look at the condition. Look at our streets. Look what's happening in New York State. Look how many people are leaving New York State. We lead the nation in people that have left New York State. So, time to call in reinforcements. Lee Zeldin. And I'm glad to lead Democrats for Lee Zeldin, by the way, because we have to do the right thing. We have to elect the governor like George Pataki in '94. Everybody said he's not going to beat Cuomo. He's not going to beat Cuomo at all. It was like 12, 13 points behind in '94. Well, guess what? He won, and he's the last great Governor of New York State, George Pataki. So we all have to get out to vote. Democrats, Republicans, Independents, everyone has to get out and vote. And let's change New York State. Finally, let's get it back to normal. I just want to get back to normal. It is so crazy. It's so crazy. But I could think of no better candidate. Again, Lee Zeldin will do it. So I want to bring up somebody we have to get behind also. George Santos, George for Congress. And George is a good guy. George is going to do it, by the way. So we have a lot of great candidates tonight. And again, I cross party lines to elect great people. Everyone else should do the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you, everybody. Whitestone, are you ready? You can do better than that. Are you ready? All right, look. I'm a Whitestone guy. Who here's from Whitestone? Don't we love this town? Don't we love our city? Don't we love our state? So what we need to do on November 8th is remind every single person we know that we need to vote, and we need to vote for Lee Zeldin. This man has been in the front lines in Congress for 8 years. He spent 4 years in the state Senate, and he's fought for us every step of the way. On top of that, he's served our country through the military, and he continues to serve today. He's a true American hero. Every time I text him, he's serving us one way or another, and I just don't know when he stops serving us. This is what we need in Albany. This is the man we need leading our state. This is the man that's going to bring common sense back to New York. So who are we going to vote for on November 8th? It's my pleasure to be here in my hometown to introduce to you guys the man that's going to help bring our state back to common sense, to what matters, which is to give us the freedom back in New York State. Without further ado, our soon and next governor, Lee Zeldin. All right. Whitestone ready to fire Kathy Hochul? Oh yeah, 17 days to go. 17 days. We got in this race over a year and a half ago. And over the course of this long journey across New York, which has taken us multiple times right through Whitestone. As a matter of fact, we had a rally right here at the end of July. There have been a lot of conversations that you all had with loved ones, with family, with neighbors, talking about the stakes, talking about that same sense of purpose that brings you here today. You know, George was asking you just now how much you love the state. And, you know, this is something that many of us have been reflecting on. We should be able to very proudly and confidently say that we live in the greatest state, in the greatest country in the history of the world. It should be a very easy thing for all of us to be able to say. Now I'm able to say that we absolutely are living in the greatest country ever. But it's really hard when your state is leading the entire nation in population loss to be able to say that, yeah, we're the best of 50. We want to be the best. The reason why everybody is hitting their breaking point and fleeing is because those in charge have been attacking wallets and safety and freedom. The people who are in charge can't even tell you why New York leads the entire nation in population loss. How can any of us ever expect Kathy Hochul to fix this if she doesn't even understand why everybody's leaving? You all know why this state leads the whole country in population loss. And you're committed to do absolutely everything in your power to fix it, to save it. We have people in our lives who wake up on an election day and voting is a game time decision. A lot of those people, even if they don't vote, they'll wake up the day after. And they may even complain about what happened the day before. I mean, you're doing your part, you're here. There have been times in life, and I learned it in the military, if somebody's asking you what they need to do, I try to be as efficient as possible. I try to ask for as little as possible to accomplish the mission. In this blue state of New York, where Joe Biden, by the way, in 2020, I mean, that margin was like 24 points. We can't take absolutely anything for granted. There's an enthusiasm gap that's out there, yes. It's easier for you to have that conversation, to vote for your candidate, as opposed to the people on the other side trying to get others to convince that same person to vote for theirs. The ask is that every single person here needs to do absolutely everything in your power, from the beginning of each day to the end, telling everyone you know, doing everything you can, and taking nothing at all for granted. And then what happens on election night is that after the polls close and the results start coming in, as you can reflect, as Bob Holden was just talking about, in a historic election of 28 years ago, what you'll be able to see on the screen, hopefully all of you in person, at a victory party here in the city on Tuesday, November 8th, is the race for New York governor getting called. And whether it's tuned into Fox or CNN or MSNBC or whomever else is on that screen, that host will be telling you breaking news. CNN has to tell you very, very reluctantly that we can call the state of New York and they have a new governor, Lee Zeldin. But we have to work for it. And then we have to get to work in saving the state. And that means the first thing that we need to do on day one, as soon as we get there, is tell the Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg he's being fired. Now, we want to be able to work with other people in this state legislature. They should come to the table. We have to fix all these different pro-criminal laws, but they're indicating that they won't come to the table. So you know what we need to do on day one is that we are going to declare a crime emergency in New York, and we are going to suspend cashless bail and the other pro-criminal laws they've passed. Y'all see that new CDC guidance that came out this week? They had a vote to add the COVID vaccine. Well, I want to make it crystal clear, and I'll tell you what Kathy Hochul won't, because we don't see eye to eye on this. See, she looks around and she sees a bunch of her apostles. She looks at herself when she looks out at all of you, and she thinks that she's your mother. She's actually said this stuff out loud. By the way, she'd probably say that we are all not New Yorkers. She said that I wasn't a New Yorker because she disagreed with me, and I'm challenging her. She said that I needed to get on a bus and move to Florida. I kind of took her advice a little bit. The next day I got in the car and I drove to Florida, New York. I was endorsed by the mayor of Florida, New York. We're not going anywhere. We're staying here and fighting for our state. And that means fighting for our kids. And as governor, I will totally oppose any proposed COVID vaccine mandate in grade school, in higher education, for employment or otherwise. Nobody should have been fired for what is a personal decision. Every single person who's been fired should get offered their jobs back with back pay.
are thousands of New York families who lost their loved ones in nursing homes. They will not rest until they get the justice that they demand. So on day one, to do that, to deliver what was long promised to them, the answers, the justice, the accountability, we will appoint a special prosecutor to investigate the deadly nursing home order and cover-up here in the state of New York. Last Sunday morning, I was doing an interview with Maria Bartolome, and she asked me, what are you going to do in your first 100 days? And I thought about it for a second. I said, you know what? It's not about what you're going to do in your first 100 days. It's about what all of us together are going to get done in the first 100 minutes to save New York. Here's the deal. I can guarantee for you, that if we don't do all in, if we do everything in our power, from this day until the polls close on election night, in all 62 counties, this is our part of the state to take care of what we need to do right here. And I do a lot of rallies around the state, and you have a lot of fellow New Yorkers who feel just as passionately as you do in different counties and different regions, with the same sense of purpose. Some want to restore balance to Albany. That's their motivation. Some people want to be able to afford to live out their New York dream as still being an American dream. They want to be able to buy a home. They want to be able to extract natural gas that's under them, like in the Southern Tier. They want pipelines approved. People have different hopes and different purposes, different dreams. I guarantee you that if we do everything in our power between now and 9 p.m. on election night, I'm telling you, we are going to elect a new governor here in the state of New York, and we will save our state. I want to give a shout out here. My father and stepmother are here, David and Carol. Thank you for coming out. I want to thank Vicki Palladino, councilwoman. How great is she? Vicki Palladino's doing a great job. She's a fighter. Bob Holden, I'll tell you, listen, it's not easy to do what you know is right when you start getting the incoming from your own party because you're standing up to your own party. It's easier when you might be taking on the other party. Well, but Bob Holden is a sitting New York City councilman and a Democrat. And Bob Holden decided, you know what, I am going to do what I know to be right. And in a way, it became an easy decision for him. And I want to thank Bob Holden for his courage, his strength, his leadership. Thank you, Bob Holden. And you're going to hear from him in a couple minutes. We ran a spirited primary. We're pretty good friends. It was kind of awkward for a little bit. I'm excited he's here. I'm grateful for all the support. Give a big round of applause for Andrew Giuliani.
Let's get him. November 8th.
Now we have to, and Andrew would certainly agree with this, we have to break the supermajority that's in the Senate and Assembly, and you have an opportunity. They don't even see it coming. There's this guy, Stefano Forte. He's creeping up. He's creeping up. And this man, I'm telling you, please, if you wanted to help me serve as New York's next governor, it'd be a lot easier, a lot more productive. We get a lot more done if we have State Senator Forte serving right there with me. Do we want to flip the House of Representatives? Do we want to fire Nancy Pelosi? Well, we can do that right here by electing George Santos as our next congressman. We are well led here in Queens. The Queens County Republican Committee Chair, Tony Nunziata. Give him a big round of applause. My friend Bo Dietl is here. Give Bo a big round of applause. You'll hear from everybody in a bit. And our next Attorney General, Michael Henry's in the house. Give it up for Michael Henry. You know, that Trafalgar poll that said that we were down 2. If you looked a little closer, you'd see that Michael Henry was up 1 in that poll. Michael's doing fantastic. Now, I want to bring up as your next speaker here today. She served 25 years in the NYPD. Her father was an NYPD chief. She was the commanding officer of the 70th Precinct in Brooklyn. She was 25 years along a 40-year career in the NYPD. Allison, she might have even become an NYPD chief by now. I mean, she was pretty close. Allison absolutely loved her job. And it was her love for her job that made her make a different move in life. And thank God she was willing to do it. Allison is a fighter. Allison, she is passionate. She is principled. She unapologetically, like the rest of us, backs our men and women in blue. Our state is going to be stronger with her. You know, Kathy Hochul went out and hired Brian Benjamin to be the lieutenant governor as her first big decision. The guy who is running the defund the police movement in Albany was her pick. She wants to say, like right now, she woke up yesterday morning and said she's going to start fighting crime. She picked Brian Benjamin. The guy got arrested and he had to resign. She comes into office, she says that she needs to raise tens of millions of dollars, and the only way to do it is by selling out us and access to the state government. She had a donor give her money, and then 4 days later, she suspends New York's competitive bidding law. That company provides an offer for a no-bid contract that was worth over $600 million. She accepts the deal, spending twice the price of California, and that means that all of us ended up having to spend over $250 million more than we should. This is what she did out of the gate. And I'll tell you what, for my decision as far as who should be the state's next lieutenant governor, it was a no-brainer. She's talented, she's a fighter, she's a warrior, she will be an amazing lieutenant governor. Give a big round of applause for Allison Esposito. And thank you all, let's go out and win.
Thank you, sir. Let me hear you. This does not sound like 17 days left. Let me hear you. Are you ready to make history? Are you ready to take back our state? Are you ready to end the corruption? Are you ready to restore public safety, human decency, and common sense?
I never did this before, but I just met Ruben Cruz. Ruben Cruz is running for state senate against John Liu. Is he?
Bob's Coran's for the state assembly.
Yeah. So Ruben Cruz is running against John Liu, and we've endorsed the entire Republican ticket. And I want to give a special shout out to Ruben running for state senate, and Bob running for state assembly. Bob Speranza. So support both of them as well. I just met Ruben as I was running out. We've endorsed this entire ticket here in Queens. So, Allison, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But I have to give a shout out to Ruben and Bob.
I agree with you. I agree with you. All right, so have a good night, folks. Bye, Lee. So Lee is running off to the next event because unless, just to remind everybody, there's 17 days left to get this done. So it's time. It's time we restore common sense. We have an amazing slate of candidates. Vicki, thank you so much for setting this up. Andrew, thank you so much for coming out. Your support has been amazing. We have to elect every single person standing behind me that's up for election because we need to break supermajorities. We need to send a clear message to Albany and to Washington that the silent majority is awake and we are coming for our state back and then we're coming for our country. We have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do. And I know we are all equal to the task. As all of you know, I am not a politician. I am a cop. And that is who I am, and that is what I will stay. I walked away from the NYPD for the same reason that I joined the NYPD. Because those who cannot protect themselves deserve to be protected. So I walked away from my cops, the job that they were doing, the fear in their eyes, the taking the loaded illegal firearms off the waistbands of criminals, the inability to do their job because of discovery laws, the revolving door of justice, the criminal justice system that apologizes for itself. They could not get the job done. And I couldn't help them or the people of the city and state of New York unless I walked away for the same reason that I joined. And that's to give a voice to the voiceless, to listen to those who have been ignored for so long, and to protect our men and women who are selflessly put on targets every single day and go out that door. Ladies and gentlemen, we will go back to recognizing that most of us, if not nearly all of us, back the blue. I can talk to you all day about a heart of a cop. I can talk to you all day about why it's a calling. I can talk to you all day about cops staring into playgrounds that nobody's there, a vacant, empty playground while we're taking some of the most violent criminals off the street, gang members that are sex trafficking, drug trafficking, gun trafficking, and just killing innocent civilians on a daily basis. And when my two detectives are standing across the street during a takedown, staring into a vacant park, and I walk over and ask what the heck they're doing, they turn around and say it's been way too long since a child has laughed in this park. The gangs held it hostage, and they couldn't wait till tomorrow morning to see if children once again played in that park. That is the heart of a cop. That is why we back our law enforcement. We don't defund police. We ask cops to do an insurmountable job sometimes. They wake up in the morning and they go to work. They don a uniform, and their first job could be arresting daddy for doing unspeakable crimes to Junior. Then their next job is a motor vehicle accident where they hold the hand of a woman who's about to lose her husband, watching him take his last breath. Then they go to the next job, and potentially it's an elderly woman who doesn't have food or needs company, and they spend some time with her. And then their final job of the day could be their final job, when we ask them to go into harm's way and take a bullet for somebody that they've never met. We have to fund our law enforcement, give them the training, the resources, and the ability, the tools to do the job the way we need it done, with the compassion that we demand, with the professionalism that we demand. We have so much work to do. We have so much work to do. We have to stop the attack on our freedoms. We have to stop the attack on our children's education. We have to stop pitting student against student, teaching them to hate each other, teaching them to hate this great country, and the worst of all, teaching them to hate themselves for who they are, what they look like, and where they come from. That is unacceptable. We set our kids up for success in New York. They are the leaders of the next generation. And you as parents do not relinquish your rights as parents simply by sending your children to school. We owe our children better, and if you decide to homeschool, to private school, to public school, to charter school, you should be set up with your children as involved as you can be in their education so that we are setting all of New York's kids up for success. We are taxing our middle class out of existence. New Yorkers are fleeing the state, cheaper, freer, and safer states. I stand here before you having most of my family already left New York. And I know each and every one of you know people who did the same. We have to support small businesses. We have to support our people. They are choosing right now whether to put gas in their car or food on their table. We have to stop the attack on energy. The ban on energy. You can't afford to put food on your table, but you should have an $80,000 electric car that you can't afford with a grid that will not support you plugging it in. We can be safely extracting natural resources. We can be energy independent. We could be bringing jobs back to New York. People should be knocking down our doors to get into this state. It's the most beautiful state in the Union. From the oceans, to the rivers, to the lakes, to the mountains. We have it all. We have it all. The greatest state in the greatest country in the history of the world. And it's about time we stood up, put our chests out, took it back, and we're proud of New York again. This is history, ladies and gentlemen. This is 17 days. I did a speech at a school a couple of days ago. And children ask the best questions. Now, these were high school students. I wasn't there for votes. I was there to talk to the leaders of our next generation. And it was a school in the Bronx. And one of the kids asked a great question. They asked a lot of great questions that were about policy and how we're going to keep us safe. And what are you going to do about mental health and homeless? Because they see a governor who does a press conference today live in the subway, and she's standing there about how she's tough on crime. Yet the transit system in New York is at an all-time high, 25-year high for homicides. And she's standing there. Last week she was out on the island talking like a 1927 gangster, talking about the gig is up, we're coming for you. She does not instill fear in anyone. So these kids see this. They see her making decisions 17 days before an election. And she can't even provide the details of how she's going to do it. It's been in the works for a while. Don't worry. Look at the bright, shiny thing up here. Don't look down here where we failed to protect you, where we're attacking your freedoms, where we're taking money out of your pocket. Look up here at the bright, shiny thing. She thinks New Yorkers are fools. She thinks that we can't believe our own eyes. Don't trust your own eyes that you're stepping over people in mental health crisis to get to work. Don't trust that feeling that you have when you're walking to school or work that something's going to happen. Mayor Adams says it's only 6 extra felonies per day in the subway system. Well, what happens if you're one of the 6? Don't concentrate on that 6. Concentrate on all the people who make it out alive. What if you're one of those 6? So you have to wake up every day and say, well, damn, am I one of those 6 today? Because it's not a data point, it's a victim. And victims have families, and families are part of communities, and it's a ripple effect. And it's destroying the fabric of our society. And the kids see all this. So their question was, can you just tell us about Lee? And that was such a great question. Because it wasn't about policy. It wasn't about what are you going to do for us. It wasn't about money. It wasn't about how often are we going to see you. And it wasn't about the traditional things that people worry about. They wanted to know about the man who is going to be their next governor. And it was a great question. And I was able to say that I come from a world of integrity, being in the police force. And I never ever would have stepped away from my beloved police force if I didn't believe that Lee's integrity was beyond reproach. if I didn't believe that he had the clear vision to bring New York State back to glory, if I didn't believe he was the man for the job, if I didn't know he was a fighter, a paratrooper, an Army vet. But that's not what the kid was asking. The kid was asking about Lee. And I was able to tell him that in the last few months, I got to know Lee the man, Lee the father, Lee the family man, Lee the goofball, Lee the friend. And I am so proud to stand by his side in this endeavor, on this rescue mission to save our state, because I see a man that worries about his twin daughters, that cares about his parents, that looks down when he hears the story of a victim, somebody that he could have potentially helped, somebody that he'll stop the crime from happening once he's governor. I see a man with a heart. I know a man with a heart who understands that now we put people before power. People before power. And I was so happy to answer that young man's question, because it was the innocence of youth wanting to know what type of a man is going to lead us. And that's the type of man. A man who leaves a parade in the Bronx to run home as fast as possible because his twin daughters are locked in their bathroom because a drive-by shooting happened on his front lawn. A man who sees an immigrant that came here the right way and became a citizen, and his crime was to go to work, to put food on his family's table, and he was thrown in jail for homicide for defending himself when a man 30 years his junior entered his store and threw him against the wall. And that man gave up on the American dream and went back to the Dominican Republic because New York isn't safe. This is where we're standing. And that was the question the young man asked about. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is your next governor. The heart of a lion. But now I need you excited. I need you excited. I need you screaming and yelling and talking to every single person. I need you talking to friends, to family, to relatives, to Sally down the block that you don't like. Because we forgot in this state that voting is not just a right. It is an obligation. It is a duty. 19% turned out for the last election for New York's mayor. Democrats, independents, and Republicans, our people are not voting. We need to make sure our voices are heard. This is what this country was founded upon, and this is how we make positive change. This is how we let the government know that they are failing us, and we are coming for our state back. Every one of you, I need each and every one of you to talk until you're blue in the face, because this will be a game of inches. I believe we win. If we lose, it'll be by one vote. And it'll be the vote you didn't go out there and get. We can't have that happen. We are on the precipice of history, and we will do this, but we will do it together. Lee and I running around, all the candidates behind me running around are not going to be enough. People trust you. Take our message to them. Take our heart, our compassion, our love for this city and this state to them, and we will win. We will win. And on November 8th, we will send that clear message that New York is back. We will be free. We will thrive. We will prosper. Our children will not fall into COVID mandates where everybody's got to get vaccinated and everybody's wearing masks. This is what we need. We need excitement, we need energy, we need it all. 24 years ago, I stood in this city, I raised my right hand, and I vowed to protect the people of the city of New York. With each and every one of your help, On January 1st, I will stand in Albany next to then Governor Zeldin. And we will both raise our right hand, only this time it will be to vow to lead and protect all of the people of the state of New York, and we will deliver back to you the New York state that you deserve. Now, like I said, we can't do this alone. And we did have a spirited primary. But Andrew Giuliani has stepped forth to being a staunch supporter because he cares more about New York than anything else. People before power. This is the message. He has become a great friend, an amazing ally, and someone I am incredibly happy to not only introduce, but to stand by as we continue this rescue mission to save our state. Ladies and gentlemen, Andrew Giuliani.
Your next Lieutenant Governor, Allison Esposito.
So, guys, I got to tell you, when I think about everything that was set up here by Lee, by Allison, by George, you know, I think about what the other side is talking about right now. Think about a Kathy Hochul rally. Yeah, that's actually probably a really bad way to start a speech right there. But we've had her as our governor for the last 14 months. It feels like 14 years. One of the things I used to say about Kathy Hochul when she first came into office after Andrew Hansi Cuomo left was at least the one thing, she can't be as corrupt as him. No possible way. We just have to give her a full term and she would be as corrupt as him. Lee ran through the litany of pay-for-play scandals that is Kathy Hochul. This is very simple. We can talk about all the policy that we've gone through, and I'll reiterate it again. But I want to start and I want to end, first and foremost, by saying voting starts a week from today. You need to get out there and vote. You need to make sure, as Lee says, that we are all force multipliers and get out there and get as many people as possible to get out and vote because it's the only option for our state. It's the only one. You know, earlier today I had the opportunity to go pumpkin picking for the first time with my daughter. For the first time. Yep. Amazing. It was just absolutely wonderful. And you look in her eyes and you see the wonder in her eyes. And no matter what's going on in your head when you think about the complexities of the campaign and the state, it gets you to a place that you just feel full and complete joy. It's tough to even describe it, right? I'm having trouble even identifying those words and figuring it out. Well, I think about what New York would be like in 2026 if Kathy Hochul has 4 years. And I think about what New York would be like if Lee Zeldin and Allison Esposito and Michael Henry and Stefano Forte have 4 years up there to help save New York. If we do everything we possibly can, as has been said before, between now, especially starting next Saturday when voting begins, to make sure you're getting everybody out there that you know to get out there and vote, reminding them, get out and vote. I'm telling you, this race, it's like this. It is like this right now. We need to make sure we're doing everything that we possibly can to get everybody to come on out there and vote. If we want to make sure that we have a safe city again, look, it's not going to take a rocket scientist to do this, right? There is a plan in place to make New York safer. Lee said it right here. State of emergency on day one. Cashless bail out the window right here. Protect our officers' qualified immunity. Stop defunding the police and stop patronizing me 17 days before the election, like Allison Esposito just said, with Kathy Hochul saying she's tough on crime. I'll tell you how unaccountable Kathy Hochul has been. She won't even agree to but one debate with Lee Zeldin on a station that a lot of New Yorkers don't get, right? She thinks that she doesn't have to be not accountable to Lee Zeldin. She thinks she doesn't have to be accountable to each and every New Yorker. That she doesn't have to answer the questions, the tough questions that she should have to answer from her opponent. And look that opponent dead in the eye. That, in my mind, disqualifies her right there. Disqualifies her on the spot. When we think about education, when I think about my daughter and her education, I want to make sure that my governor believes that me and my wife are actually the primary stakeholders in my kids' education. Kathy Hochul believes the state is the primary stakeholder, the state, that parents really are just in the way. You want to know why she believes that? Money. Because the teachers union tells her, hey, guess what, Kathy? We're going to do this, and as long as you keep your mouth shut, then we're going to make sure that we deliver votes for you on November 8th. You help us out in the budget, we'll deliver votes, that's the deal. Well, that needs to end. That needs to end on November 8th, and we need to make sure we are doing everything to let parents be the primary stakeholders again. To make sure that there are no COVID mandates for our kids. Think about that. It's crazy. Think about that. It's absolutely crazy. And they want to do that. And to make sure that every single parent can hold their schools accountable. Keeping the gifted and talented programs around the state, right? Keeping the gifted and talented programs around the state and having a governor who's going to champion those rather than actually cut them out from under the kneecaps right there, and actually improving upon what has been one of the better things in education in the state over the last 30 years, which is charter schools. I want parents to have more options. Lee Zeldin, Allison, Esposito want parents to have more options for their kids' education. If Kathy Hochul is reelected, then those options will be in Florida, in Texas, in Tennessee. If Lee Zeldin is reelected, they'll be right here in Whitestone. They'll be all across the 62 great counties of New York. Now, I can go on about policy, but you guys know where Lee stands on this. He's been out there for the last 18 months explaining to you clearly on this. Now, it's up to us to make sure that we are doing everything that we possibly can over the last 17 days, certainly starting next weekend, once early voting begins. I want everybody to get out there. Get your Zeldin signs out there, get your Henry signs out there, get your Santos signs, your Forte signs, your Stefano Forte signs, and make sure you're getting car horns honking, and make sure that New Yorkers see that that red wave that's going to come all the way through America is going to come right through the Empire State. And we're going to elect Lee Zeldin as the 58th governor of the great state of New York. Come on out, starting next Saturday. Let's get it done. We can win. We can win. And now, let me introduce to you your next Attorney General, a good friend of mine, Michael Henry.
So thank you all for having me. As Lee pointed out earlier, both Lee and I have taken leads in public polls, but this is a very tight election. So you have to make sure your friends, your family, your neighbors, find old friends on social media. Make sure everyone gets out and votes, because I am very confident this November 8th, we are going to dismiss Tisch from public office and get this state back on track. I'm running to become your next Attorney General because, like all of you, I'm a private citizen that knows things are not okay. And I'm willing to give up my business and my private life because we all know that one-party control and the lack of balance has led to nothing but a crime crisis, a corruption crisis, a cost-of-living crisis, and we have an environment where people are living in fear as criminals do what they want, whenever they want, wherever they want, because if there's no fear, no consequence mentality that's been put in place by laws supported by people like Letitia James and Kathy Hochul. Recently, when asked if she would revisit any changes to cashless bail, Letitia James said she needed more data. And every time I say that, people laugh. But the problem is, and I'm sure a police officer like Dietl could tell you, more data means more victims. And quite frankly, that's a despicable mindset for the chief law enforcement officer to have, because more data means more victims, and one victim is one victim too many. And if she wants to debate this issue, she should stop ducking our debate invite and show up to New York 1 on November 2nd at 7 o'clock. Because I am going to give her data. 36% rise in major crimes in the last year in New York City. 25% high in subway homicides. 41% rise in hate crimes. Nearly half of that is Jewish New Yorkers. Another large portion is Asian New Yorkers. And when I'm the next Attorney General, I'm not going to hashtag Stop Asian Hate and Stop Jewish Hate. I'm going to make sure that these are prosecuted like the hate crimes that they are. And this is not just a New York City issue. Nassau County has just seen a 34% rise in major crimes. Rochester has a higher murder rate than the city of Chicago. The city of Buffalo has seen a 3-year increase in crimes. And that's why all the major police unions have been coming out and endorsing me to become the next Attorney General. Because they understand that I am going to prioritize public safety along with Lee Zeldin. And I'm going to use the bully pulpit of the office to push for the full repeal of cashless bail, because this law is not working. And if you want something in place for nonviolent offenders, for first-time misdemeanors, you should make the legislature go back to work, do their job, and fix this law, because it has failed the people of the state of New York. I'm going to work in conjunction with local district attorneys to make sure that they have the resources they need. As I travel this state, I've been hearing district attorney after district attorney throughout the state tell me, in many of the small rural counties and suburban counties that are typically Republican, they have a major drug trafficking problem. And in the past, whether it was a Democrat or Republican Attorney General, they always worked in conjunction with the Attorney General's office until an Attorney General by the name of Letitia James came along. We are going to make sure that local law enforcement has the resources they need. I am also going to treat pay-to-play corruption like the crime that it is. Lee Zeldin outlined some of the cases that have been going on with Kathy Hochul. None of us here should be subsidizing the re-election campaign of Kathy Hochul. And if you take an oath to serve in office and to serve everybody here, you have to uphold that trust. And trust has been eroded in Albany and in government. And we are going to prosecute pay-to-play corruption to the full extent of the law. Now, in closing, the Attorney General's office, everyone thinks you're a top cop. You actually oversee a lot of industry in the state. You oversee the financial services industry. You oversee the labor industry. You oversee the real estate industry. This office right now is filled with social justice warriors that are political activists that don't understand what it takes to have an economy flourishing. I am going to revamp these offices, and I am going to put people in place that understand how to cut the bureaucracy, cut the red tape, and streamline this office so it is responsive to business owners and it is responsive to the needs of the citizens of this state. And when we win on November 8th, this is not just a win for the people of New York. This is a win for the United States of America. Because Letitia James is the most political Attorney General in the United States. And what we are going to do on November 8th is we are going to put attorney generals and district attorneys and secretary of states around the country on notice that if you want to weaponize your office for political purposes, you're going to be held accountable and your days are going to be numbered, and New York on November 8th is going to lead that fight. Thank you all, and now I want to bring Dietl up to say a couple words.
Thank you, Mike. Wow, I'm going to tell you something. Allison, Mike, Lee, you guys are the hardest workers I've ever seen. First of all, this boy comes from Ozone Park, Queens. I'm a Queens boy. And when I ran for mayor against Big Bird, they found a way. He found a way. That's what I'm here to speak about. New York City is so damn corrupt with the Board of Elections. They cheat like hell. And I'm telling you right now, when we ran for mayor, I was knocked off every line by Big Bird de Blasio's general counsel. So that's what we have to deal with. We have to win 35% of New York City. That's what's so important. And they'll cheat. But we got to make sure we get more people voting. What it's all about is about you calling up not just Republicans. We have to call our Democratic friends. I played golf with a liberal Democratic lawyer last week out in Subotic. Oh, I hate Republicans. I hate. By the end of the day, you know what he's saying? I'm voting for Lee Zeldin. You know why? You know why? I said, your daughter that travels on the subway will become a victim. Somebody you know and love will become a victim. And then when they call Bo up, Bo, I need some protection. I'm going to say, who'd you vote for? If you voted for her, don't call me. Vote for Lee Zeldin. You must understand. I'm here today because I know all about what Lee is about. He loves and cares about this state. I yell a little bit more than Lee, but Lee has the real deal. He knows what he's doing. I think he was was he the youngest attorney in New York State? A lot of people don't know that. 23 years old, and he was a friggin' lawyer. Lee Zeldin. My point is, we have a diamond with Lee Zeldin, Allison, and Mike. We've got diamond people, but we have to call. It's for everybody listening. Call up your Democratic friends and say just what I just said. If your family member or loved one becomes a victim, what are you going to do? We have a governor there. I call her Snaggletooth Empress Ming because her eyebrows are somewhere on top of her head. You guys don't remember Flash Gordon, but you have Emperor Ming. She's Empress Ming. My point is, she says, well, I can't pull back bail reform. Why can't you? Well, the statistics aren't there. How about a guy that got arrested 105 times, 18 times this year? You fool. What are those statistics? Then she's on Fox TV. She's on Fox TV this morning. Oh, it's not as bad as people are saying. The news media is making out. I tell you what, Snaggletooth, why don't you take the train without all your security guards? You're a damn liar. Everyone, please, pick up the phones. I scream and yell on WABC every morning. But listen to me. Please, we must all band together and pick up the phone. Call 10 people. Tell those 10 people, if we don't change our governor in Albany, we are going to become victims. Your family, your loved ones. And tell that to your Democratic friends. Say you want to vote for Snaggletooth? Don't complain when you become a victim. And also, one more thing. Who's that little guy, that guy, the head of the assembly? What's his name? The head of this. Yeah, so the other day we had the Godfather Harlem. I played Tommy Lucchese. I don't know why they made me play Tommy Lucchese. So I'm at a rap party. All of a sudden, Hasty's over there, Carl Hasty, the head of the assembly. He sees me walking over to him. He starts doing the moonwalk. I thought he was Michael Jackson. He didn't want to shake my hand because he knows what I have to say to him. And I tell you what, there was one thought in my mind. I was thinking about giving him a left hook. And you know what? There's no bail in New York. I would have been right out. But really, everybody, this is the most serious election of our time right now. Right now, we have to get other people. I know you're all voting for my team here, but you got to get other people. Let's get the Democrats. And Mr. Zeldin, it's a pleasure to see you. I love you. I know Mr. Zeldin, for many years we were together with Governor Pataki's Crime Commission and all that. Good to see you, Mr. Zeldin. And your son's going to win, and I hope to be there election night. I'm all the way. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. Good night. Love you guys. Lee Zeldin.
Thank you so much for coming, everybody. One more round of applause for our candidates. Lee Zeldin's going to win. Thank you for coming. Have a great evening.